Hola chicos, aquí tengo una presentación sobre el pretérito y imperfecto. En clase aprendimos que el imperfecto es otra manera de hablar del pasado. Recuerdan, el pretérito se usa para describir acciones completos. Sabemos que hay un límite de tiempo. Por ejemplo, tomaron el examen el lunes pasado. Gabriela recibió la mejor nota de todos los estudiantes. El año pasado fui a Costa Rica de vacaciones. Lo pasé muy bien. Pedro se levantó, fue al baño y se duchó. In all of these examples, I know I have a specific time frame or a specific action that I know has happened and is complete. I refer to this as a snap. Did it happen? Is it over and done with? All right. I have an acronym here to help you with that, so remember, SOS, and SNAP, of course. Generally speaking, the preterite is used for actions that have been completed. So if you think of specific time frame, a one-time action or event, and definitely that stopping point, or we know that the activity has completed. That indicates preterite. Aquí hay unas palabras que se usan para el pretérito. Ayer, anteayer, anoche, hay muchas palabras. Anything that indicates a time frame or specific time period will be el pretérito. But what about actions that happen more than once in the past? Like, I used to live in the country, or every Christmas my whole family would get together for a big dinner. And how about those actions that started in the past, but we really don't know if they finished? I was walking to work when I saw an accident, or she was tired and hungry, just kind of general background. All of these are going to use el imperfecto, so actions that repeated in the past, unfinished actions, any descriptive actions about the past. All of these are going to use el imperfecto. If we think about it, the word perfect means complete, so imperfect is not perfect, so we know we're talking about those ones that are not complete. Some uses. So the uses of it include expressing actions, conditions, and events that were in progress at some time in the past. So something was happening, something that occurred repeatedly or habitually, so anything that you used to do or you would do in your past, and anything that was anticipated or planned but maybe didn't come to fruition. All of those are imperfect. Los usos del imperfecto. I have another acronym. Remember, it's I can show that. So I can show how it's done is what I'm saying here. So some of the uses are interrupted activity. Remember, with interrupted activity, my first verb is going to be in the imperfect. So yo estaba mirando la televisión cuando escuché un ruido. So something interrupts that activity. All of the other ones for show that are how I know when to use imperfect. This could be simultaneous actions using the word mientras, so something was happening while I was doing something else. Habitual actions, anything that you used to do or had a habit of doing, will use the imperfect. Ongoing, anything that was in progress, I will use imperfect to describe in the past. Weather, description, age, and time are my last four categories, and all of these are always going to be used in the imperfect tense when I'm talking about them in the past. All right, so finally, let's review our imperfect endings a little bit. We know that this is much easier than the preterite. Preterite had tons of irregularities, but imperfect, we don't have many. There's only 3 irregulars. Really, the main conjugations we need to know are sets of abas and ias. All right, unos ejemplos. Back in the day, there was a band known as ABBA. Look it up, talk to your parents. Hablar. I can use all of these verbs. My endings all have a form of aba. So that's why I'm using that as an example. So remember, the yo, el, ella, and usted form are exactly the same. Hablaba, hablabas, hablaba, hablábamos, y hablaban. Remember, accents on our nosotros form. Let's try that with cantar. Cantaba, cantabas, cantaba, cantábamos, y cantaban. So easy enough. Make sure you just have your endings on here and underline anything that is additional to the aba. How about ER and IR? These are your forms of ia. Comer, I will have comía, comías, comía, comíamos, comían. For vivir, vivía, vivías, vivía, vivíamos, and vivían. Remember, you can always review this if I'm going too quickly, pause, and you can replay it. Let's try it with an AR verb. How about the verb estar? If you'll conjugate for all of the following subject pronouns, if you'll pause your computer and think about it, and then we'll go over those. All right, let's see. How did it go with estar? Did you have the following forms? Let's try an ER verb this time. How about the verb volver? Volver is a stem-changing verb in the present tense, but we don't need to worry about stem-changing verbs in the imperfect. Que suerte. Let's try another ER verb. How about the verb conocer? Pause your computers and try it out. Yo conocía, tú conocías, ella conocía, nosotros conocíamos, y ellos conocían. Once again, conocer is irregular in the present tense, but not in the imperfect. Decir, let's try an I verb this time. Now, decir was very irregular in the preterite, but we're talking about the imperfect. So conjugating is a little bit more simple. Drop my IR, I should have the following endings. So decir is a stem-changing verb. It is irregular in both the present and preterite, but we don't have to worry about any of that in the imperfect, do we? Finalmente, let's try and work with an AR verb, but this time let's do a reflexive. How about levantarse? So I'm talking about when I was a kid, we had a habit of getting up every day at a certain time. All right, did you remember about reflexives, how they work in the present? So it's going to work the same way. I'm going to put my reflexive pronoun in front of my conjugated verb. Yo me levantaba, tú te levantabas, ella se levantaba, nosotros nos levantábamos, y ellos se levantaban. Last but not least, we can't forget about the irregulars, but we only have 3. Pause your computer and see if you can remember the 3 verbs and their conjugations. We have ser, ir, and ver. Ser is era, eras, era, éramos, eran. So all of our forms of era. I refer to this one as, we use ser a lot to talk about what we were like as kids, so I think in that era or that time period of your life. For ir, these are all of my forms, iba, ibas, iba, ibamos, iba. So all of them are forms of iba. For ver, my clue on this one is I gotta see the E. The verb ver means to see, so you need to keep that E there when you conjugate. I'm not gonna drop my ER and just add ia, like via, vias, via. I have to see the E. So veia, veias, veia. Endings follow like a normal IR verb, but I gotta see the E. All right, that's all. No other regular forms in the imperfect for Spanish. So it's a piece of cake as far as conjugation goes. The forms are that simple. We'll look more at the differences between the two in class when we do some additional practice, but that's just a little review of imperfect. So let's focus on that first, and then we'll start to recall some of those from the previous chapter. Buena suerte, and if you need to review some preterite, please do so. Adios.